Hello guys, and welcome to this session. Today I want to talk about AJAX asynchronous request, JSON API authentication. In the previous lesson, we have talked about how the mechanism behind the scene works between front-end, backend, and database, and how the communication between the front-end and server. But as we know that if you build one application, like containing from a server to a front-end, we have server in one place. But imagine that we are going to build an application that taking also a data or information from another server, which is like located in different web host or a different place. So how we can actually deal with that? And if you are wondering about like, okay, now we have like one place where we can get data from, which is our host or our server. But what do you mean about like having information from other server? The idea behind it actually is so simple. You see recently that if you want to look for an action, or if you want to do something like search for a product or search for a device or something like that, you will see that there are a couple of websites who suggest for you a couple of actions or discounts. And when you click on that discounts, you are navigating to another website, which is their website, where you can actually make the purchase from it. This is actually what I'm talking about. One thing that I just like to look at as an example is Skyscanner. So if you see here, Skyscanner is a place where you can actually find the cheapest ticket flights if you want to go on vacation or you want to travel. So first of all, Skyscanner, if you want to like put in a destination here and what the datum is. So when you check searching for it, you will see multiple options. So you see here one option, second option, and it's like filtered for you upon the price. But when you are going, for example, to choose one of these, you are going to have multiple options how you can book it. So for example, here, eDream or Super Saver or My Trip or those guys, or Kiwi, for example. When you click on that, you are going to notice that you are navigating to a different website. And this is actually the idea behind it, because Skyscanner is using API, AJAX, and JSON. This is what I have talked to you about it. Let's move actually to our screen here, and I'm going to draw for you what I mean about how you get the information from. In the previous session, we have, like I said, if we are going to have an application, we have the front end, and this is a browser. This browser making a request to a server, which is the server, who's containing the backend and database. Yes? Okay. So when I'm asking, for example, for a specific information or data from my own server, I'm getting the data back from my own server. So here, all of it sitting in one web host. And these terms, I'm going to be specifically talking about this kind of stuff later when we are moved to backend. But let's say that web host is a server where I can like have a couple of applications on it and share between each other. Okay, so now in AJAX or API, we have actually one browser. And this one front-end application. It can be also in backend, but I'm going to focus about front-end for now. And this website is going to give you the same as Skyscanner. So we have, for example, My Trip website. And we have Super Saver. Yes, and we have a couple of all other websites. Let's say it IATA. It doesn't matter for now. Okay, so what I'm going to do when people are going to search for a different or a specific a keyword, I'm going to send a request to these websites or these servers to get a result from them. So, for example, I am searching for Amsterdam to Lisbon. So I'm going to send to them to here, to My Trip, Super Saver, and this website that give me or provide with all the different prices related to a trip between Amsterdam and Lisbon. And these websites are going to give data back to my front-end application. The front-end application, what's going to do is going to filter all the data that's getting from this website and display it here as the cheapest or recommended for the customer or those kind of stuff. Okay, this is actually what it's called the using AJAX or asynchronous request. I'm going to tell you more about asynchronous request. Okay, so the idea actually behind the scenes that when front end and back end are communicating with each other, so when I'm asking for a data and send it back a data, the format that communicate between each other is called JSON. And JSON, it helps the front end to communicate with backend. So because these servers, maybe this one is written in Java, this one in Python, and this one in PHP. And these are languages, backend languages. And all these languages is not the same as each other, and also not the same as the front end, which most likely is JavaScript. Yes, so how these languages can communicate with each other? Thanks, first of all, to JSON. JSON is only a format that can all languages talk to each other. And JSON is just such as an object in a string format. So if you remember, we write an object like this. So if we have object is equal, opening curly brackets, name, for example, Aboud. So this one is a string because this one is a string. And we have here age is 130, let's say 30. Am I going to close it? Yeah? Okay. So this is a normal object. It's containing here a string. It's containing also an age. Maybe it's containing a function or another type of programming. So if you see here, this object can convert it to a JSON. And what I meant about converted to JSON, which is going to be formatted in a string. So we have an object, the name of it is a string. And its opening name is going to be a string, and age is a string, and close it. And the whole of it, we are going to surround it with a string. And that's the format of JSON. So a JSON can be formatted to object, and also can JSON format it to object, or object can format it to JSON. And this is like the way of communicating these languages when I'm making requests through an API. Okay. Let's talk now about API. So what API means? Each application, it has a way to communicate or sending data to a front end. But if I want, actually, I'm going to build my application. And this application is supposed to give an external data to an external website. So for example, I have here a super deal, and super deal is only a website that has own data and filtering on data, but also it has also a way to give this data to external websites if they want to pay them, or they want to give them some benefit or promoting their product or those kind of stuff. So in that situation, they are going to build something called an external a way to provide this information, which is called API. And most of the application, it has on API in order to send this data to another provider. An API is just like the name of application programming interface. So if you have an application and you want actually to send your data to another website, another server, you are going to build your own API as a developer, as an application, and give this API to the other data. And the API is just like an URL from your application. You are going to study it later. Okay, so if I have actually I'm talking about the authentication, which means if I have built an application with SuperDeal and I want to give a data to another server through an API, yeah, but to be honest, I don't want actually to make this URL, or I want to make this API open to everybody. So I don't want, for example, you to access this API and get the information from my part. I want actually to know who is the person that's using this API. So for example, Skyscanner. Skyscanner is getting, for example, 10% if they sell a ticket from SuperDeal. So how SuperDeal knows that Skyscanner is the person who, or he is the application who helps selling their product. With the authentication, which is when I am giving an API to Skyscanner, I want, first of all, from Skyscanner to go to SuperDeal, make a profile, and ask for authentication code. And this code is a unique, which is, let's say, a unique number, 1352013. And this is actually a unique number. When I am sending a request, when I'm using the API, I need to put this code in the API. So every time I'm using this API, I am sending this code with it, so that SuperDeal, they know that the client who using this code is from Skyscanner, and then I can give Skyscanner a couple of money in order to sell my product. And this is what's called authentication. So authentication is everything. If you want to use certain information to get it or to use it, you have to be authenticated, which means you have to be known who you are, the person who's using the information. I want to talk now about synchronous requests and AJAX in general, because AJAX or JavaScript is super powerful language that using a couple of fastest way in order to reach their goal, fetching data, making requests, and so on and so forth. Okay, the idea behind it, I have told you that in the example of Skyscanner, and if you want to build your front end, you want to make a couple of requests to a different server in order to get this information. So in that situation, we have here server 1, let's say it, and we have here server 2, and we have here server 3. Yeah, okay. So we are going to write a function in order to make it. So for example, we are going to have function 1 with a server 1. And after that, we are going to have server 2 function to fetch a data from server 2, and all of it, in the end of the story, we are going to make the function to fetch a data from server 3. Yes, and this is how we can order our code. Okay. But the story actually behind it. Here, we are dealing with external server. So we don't know what the situation and the condition from these servers. So for example, if we ask for a GET request, to have data on certain product or certain keywords from a server one. And this server somehow is stopped or crashed, or he shut it down, or the owner of it didn't want to keep using it anymore, or. So with JavaScript, if you have like a function, and this function give you an error, so the code is going to be stopped here. And if we stop this code, then the application is going to be crashed. In order to fix this problem or to make solution for it, we used a asynchronous request. A synchronous request, which means we are making a request and we are not waiting for a result. So we are making here a request for server one. And we are not going to wait until we get the result. We are going to continue running the code. So we are first of all making a request to the server one, and then directly jump to function two to make also another request. And then we are going to make also a request to another server and move down to fetch all the code that we have. Now, after like running all the code asynchronously, we are going to get this result from the servers because we're making a request and we are waiting for getting a request back from them. When the request is coming back, we just like to see if the request containing an error or containing the right data. If we have the right data, then we are happy. If we don't have the right data, then we are going to give a front end an error message that, hello, we have an error from this message. It doesn't crash our course. It's just like we can handle all the errors through AJAX. And thanks to AJAX, because it's helping us to work with how we can write an AJAX and go to the demo. First of all, we are going to use the same of the, we are going to use the name of the function that help us making a synchronous request. So either we are going to use XML HTTP request, or we are going to use fetch, or we are going to use Axios, or. You have actually to take into consideration that these are natively in JavaScript. Axios is library that you have to install. Axios is really helpful, and you are going to use it when you are reaching React. But for now, we are going to use XML HTTP request or fetch. So in order to make an AJAX, we are going to call fetch. After that, fetch is an object. We have to specify which request we are going to make. So from cloud. So either we are going to create, or we are going to update, or fetch, or retrieve. In our situation, if you want to ask for data from another server, so we are asking for a get. So in that situation, we are using get request. After using the get request, we need to specify the API of these requests. And most likely, the API is only a URL provided from another server. Okay, here we have the URL, and here we have fetch. Then we are going to call a function. This function, it has a callback. The callback either is going to be the response, or is going to be the error. In both ways, this function is still running if we have a response or we have an error. It's not going to crash. It's going to continue running this function. And here we are going to have it then. If we have a response, we are going to display it. If we have an error, we are going to show an error message. So in that situation, we have covered the AJAX request, we have covered API, JSON, and how we can communicate between one front end and different servers. With that being said, we wish you a lovely day.